been asked to slow down. Fireplace, do you know how? Pass the paper, my desk is out. Who will care for the world now? Rest with me, close to curtains, brew some herbal tea. Reach out for me, take my hand and lead even when I disagree.
Hello and welcome back to another video. As you can tell, I am no longer in Paris. I am back in England, in Bath. I finished my first semester and wow, what an incredible experience it was. I am so glad I was able to go because in fact they weren't even supposed to run Erasmus this year because of Brexit, but because last year with COVID they didn't run the scheme, they had leftover funding, so I'm so lucky I was able to do it at all. And I'm already kind of missing Paris and missing my friends and looking back nostalgically at all my memories, but it was so amazing. It's kind of ironic that in my last video I told you all, oh, I'm so excited because I finished my lectures, I finished my exams, I'm gonna have lots of free time because I only have the project. Oh boy, was I wrong. The last week was probably my most intense week out of all my time at uni, which was a bit of a shame because it was my last week in Paris and I was hoping to take advantage of that, but I was working from 9 AM first thing in the morning going to uni with my project group, and then we worked until midnight when the uni closed and they threw us out. Then we would go back to our houses and carry on working until like 5 AM, get as much sleep as we could, like 2 hours of sleep, and then the cycle continued for a whole week. And it was very intense and I was very tired by the end of it. I didn't have any time to go out, cook, let alone film. So that was my last week before I left. My final presentation was on Thursday and I think it went quite well. I'm happy with it. As a group we were proud of what we had achieved and we finished in time, which says a lot as well because lots of people didn't even finish on time because there was so much work. And then so Thursday I finished the final presentation. Friday I packed, I spent the day packing, and Saturday morning I left. So it was very rushing, crazy, but I'm back in England now. My dad came to pick me up because I had lots of stuff, so I needed the car. I couldn't come back by plane or train because I had my keyboard and my violin and a lot of stuff. And yes, we got the Eurotunnel back and I'm happy that the trip back went quite smoothly as well because obviously with COVID you never know how travel is going to be, but it was fine. And I'm still in the process of unpacking here because I haven't lived in this apartment yet because obviously I couldn't rent somewhere in England while I also rented in Paris, so this is a new apartment for me. And I'm just moving in, settling in and getting used to being back in England because it's strange after having been in Paris for 6 months. It's kind of like almost a culture shock to come back to England because it's weird to hear people speaking English instead of French. And when I go to the shop, sometimes the French phrase of what I'm supposed to say comes into my head and it's like, no, I've got to say the English phrase. And also just the size, because Bath is a very small city. The buildings are small and it's almost like a villagey feel. So compared to Paris, it just feels like a miniature town. And yes, it's just going to take a while to get used to living in England again, but I'm happy to be back for some reasons as well, because for example the green, that's what I miss the most in Paris. The green, the fresh air, the country walks, birds. There's kind of a lack of nature. You feel disconnected from nature in Paris. There are some parks, but they're very tamed under the control of man and all the trees are pristine, and in England it's the opposite. It's very much let nature do its thing and the gardens are all wild and I love that, and it's nice to be able to walk in the countryside, breathe fresh unpolluted air, and that's what I missed the most while I lived in Paris. So that side has been nice. I've already been on 2 walks in the countryside and today I'm planning to go on another one, so I'll take you with me, in a beautiful village and that's not far from Bath. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. That's my little update. And I'm just still settling in and unpacking. But also it's been lovely to see my family because I haven't seen them in 6 months and I miss them so much. And it's weird when you know someone so well and you don't see them for a long period of time to see them again. It's weird to see them in real life because obviously they've changed, and yes, it was a great reunion. But yeah, that's my update. So now I'm planning to go to the village of Biddestone, which is in Wiltshire. It's not far from Bath, and it's a beautiful little village that's been used in films as well. I think there was a series, I'm not familiar with it, but I think it's something to do with Agatha Raisin. One of the cottages there was used as her house, and it was set in the village, but it's beautiful. There's a really nice walk with countryside views and cows and sheep and little cottages. I'm going to go there and show you around. So I'm on my first walk back in England, and I'm really excited because I've really missed the countryside. While I was in Paris, that was probably the thing I missed the most, going for country walks. I'm in the Cotswold village of Biddestone, which is in Wiltshire, and it's really beautiful. As you can see, the thatched stone cottage behind me and a lake with ducks, and it's really cute. And I'm just going to go and see how the countryside has changed. It's really beautiful at this time of year. The snowdrops are coming out, and I will show you what it's like. Biddestone is a small, rural, picturesque village only a 24-minute drive from Bath, and with a population of a few hundred people. A settlement has been recorded here since the Domesday Book of 1086, with only 4 households registered in this first survey. The village has a small Grade 1 listed 12th century Norman church, the Church of St Nicholas. On the village green there is also a quaint pub, the White Horse, and a charming duck pond. I didn't realise how much I missed the green until I went on this walk. Like literally in Paris there's no green. It was just isolated. There are a few parks, but here I just love the sound of birdsong and to see all the cows and the sheep, which are already in lamb and have lambs, and it's just so lovely. So I'm really enjoying it. All the ducks and pigeons and doves are coming up to us. They think we have food, but we don't have anything. Sorry. So I've just finished my walk around Biddestone, and it's a beautiful village, beautiful cottages and houses and countryside views, but there's only one pub and there's not really much here. So now I'm going to go to the village of Tetbury, which is a little bit further north in the Cotswolds, because they have a lovely high street with lots of shops, and I fancy having a little look around and see what they've got, what they've changed since I've last been there, and maybe go for a coffee. So that's where I'm going now. I just went for tea and scones with my mum in a pub, and it was really cosy right next to the fire, and now we're just walking around and browsing at the shops. So it's really lovely. Tetbury is classified as an area of outstanding natural beauty and holds the title of the second largest town in the Cotswolds. It lies on the site of an ancient hill fort, on which an Anglo-Saxon monastery was founded in the year 681. During the Middle Ages, the town prospered thanks to the thriving wool trade. Today, the town is perhaps best known for being the home of His Royal Highness Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales. The high street is full of independent boutique shops, as well as offering a wonderful selection of restaurants, tea rooms, antique shops, charity shops, and more. Hello, it's the next day. So yesterday when I went for my walk, I went out afterwards for tea and scones with my mum, and we walked around the village of Tetbury, and then I didn't film when I came back because we just finished off unpacking all of my things and sorting out the apartment. But now everything's ready, and today I have spent the whole day, it's 4 o'clock, and up until now I have been just working on my portfolio because now that I've come back to Bath, I've got to find a work placement. So I've been updating my portfolio, adding the work that I've done since I last worked on my portfolio and updating my CV and just doing all of that, and it's taken a long time. But it's 4 o'clock and I'm planning to go outside. The weather is miserable, it's raining, but that's to be expected in England, so it's fine. I'll just put a raincoat and umbrella and put on a raincoat, get my umbrella, go outside, and I'm thinking I'm just going to walk around a little bit, see what's changed in Bath since I've last been here, because I know that lots of the shops have changed on the high street, and I don't know, it'd just be nice to have a little walk around the town. I'm thinking maybe I'll go around some of the charity shops because those are some of my favourite shops in Bath, and maybe show you what they have, because I feel like the charity shops in England are quite unique, and they always have little treasures in there, so I'll have a little look around and just relax a little bit because I need some fresh air after being stuck inside working on my portfolio all day. Not what I thought the day would look like, but there you go. So I'm about to head out now. I didn't make it very far and I already got something. I stepped into the charity shop. It's a tiny one that's right next to my house, and well, let's see if you can guess what I got. You got 3 seconds to guess, you get a point. 3, 2, 1. A book, you guessed right. I got a book of flower illustrations of garden flowers, and it's very pretty, and I'll show you when I get back. I won't show you now because it's raining. I'm at the circus, the beautiful buildings, I don't know if you can see them. And just heading into town. But yes, I haven't even gotten into town and I already have a book.
Cornelia, you are one who will survive. When time's been bad, you put smiles on everyone. Think of you and of all I should have done. You told me the thing would shape or form that you're in.
It's turned, it's so lovely and sunny all of a sudden. That's how it is in England, and all the crocuses are out in the park and it's so beautiful, so I'm just taking advantage of the good weather and walking with my face in the sun and admiring all of the crocuses because they are beautiful. It's just a sea of purple. It's stunning.
Every day is a struggle and a strife, but don't you agree? With beating hearts we're still alive.
I can't even describe to you how beautiful these crocuses are. It's just mind-blowing. This random man came up to me when I was taking pictures of the crocuses and goes, "Are they bluebells?" I don't know why I found that so funny, but there you go. But they're crocuses. And they're related to saffron. If you didn't know that, there's a fun fact for you.
You'll be all I'm thinking of. You told me the thing would shape or form that you're in. The place you're from, the wealth or the color of your skin. When all you had burns to the sky, it's all too late, and you wonder why. Cornelia,
I love Royal Victoria Park because it's not that big a park, but there's so many little pathways like this that are just in arches of trees, and there's a pond with ducks, and it's just a nice place to come for a little walk to get some fresh air. When I study and I need a break, this is where I come for my walk, and it's just amazing.
we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Oh, you and I, we got it. Oh, we don't need no
Whenever I pass the real estate, I always love to stop and look at the houses because they have the most beautiful houses for sale around Bath. Have a look. I mean, look at that, isn't that a dream? Wow. And then I also love this one and this one. Oh, and this one. Like, could you imagine such dream houses? So I found some amazing books in my look around the charity shops. That is the one thing I missed about England. To be fair, France does have lots of antiques. It's another country that really loves their vintage items, so I did enjoy my time there. But I was really excited because while I was in France, I watched the film Bright Star, directed by Jane Campion, the same director of the film The Piano. Although The Piano I'm not much of a fan of, but Bright Star is my new favourite film. Go and watch it if you haven't watched it already. Honestly, it's such a beautiful film, so aesthetic. It's set in the English countryside and it's about the poet, the romantic poet John Keats and his love for Fanny Brawne and their story. And it's just such an incredible film. I love it so much. It's on French Netflix, so I watched it in France, but it's not on British Netflix, so I'm gonna have to find another way I can watch it here because I can't live without that film. And after watching it, I wanted to discover the poetry of John Keats more because I'd read a few poems, but not very much. So my mission was to come here and find a book of John Keats's poetry. And would you believe my luck when I walk into one of the charity bookshops and the first thing I find is a John Keats poetry book. So it was meant to be. It's a beautiful edition from 1928 and it's really lovely. Looks like this. And it's got all of his works. It's got Endymion, it's got the poem Bright Star, I stood tiptoe upon a little hill, Happy as England, lots of poems, and I'm really excited. I started reading the first one yesterday and it's just, his words transport you. He's got such a way with words. One of my new favourite poets, thanks to the film as well, but the film is just so cinematic, so all of the costumes and the scenes and everything is so perfectly done. And I love as well that it's not overly done with the music. There are some moments where it's just silence and you just hear the grass, the sound of the grass or the birds or just the chatter of people outside in the countryside, and it's just so well done. So I would recommend that film 100%. So I got this poetry book. And then I also got one other poetry book, which is a Longfellow one, because look how beautiful that cover is. I mean, wow. Books like this just make my heart so happy. And like I said, I'm getting more into poetry, so I feel like that's going to be good. And another thing that sold me for this book is that it's got a little message written in the front. When they've got little messages at the front, it just, the story and thinking of the people that the hands of the people that this book has passed through, it just makes me feel more attached to it. And it says, to Mab, I don't know who Mab is, maybe short for Mabel, I don't know, from Bert, Christmas 1907. Christmas 1907. It just makes my heart so happy. And like I said, it's got just a lot of poetry and I'm looking forward to reading through it. Not just poetry, but also some prose and some verse. But it's just such a beautiful edition that I needed to add it to my library. And then the first book that I got that I mentioned earlier when I was on the vlog, the illustrated guide to garden flowers, sorry, and it's just so beautiful. And because I like to paint and do art, I feel like it's good to have a collection of books like this with lots of illustrations of flowers just for inspiration. It's got some coloured pages and it's also got some black and white pages and then it goes through the different flower names and some basic information about them. But I just love books like this, like I said, for artistic inspiration. They're very beautiful and useful. And the last book that I got is this one, Victorian Flower Gardens. It's just basically a book of paintings of cottage gardens, and I mean, what more could you want? It's just, it transports you. Such a heavenly book. It's literally just like paradise. I wish I could have a garden like this. One day I will, but for now I can look at beautiful pictures of it. It's a really lovely book, and this style of painting is one of my favourites actually. Victorian watercolour painting of gardens, like the painter Helen Allingham. I'm a big fan of her work. I think there's a few of her paintings in here as well. But it's basically, yeah, see Helen Allingham at the cottage gate. But basically, this style of painting became popular during the Industrial Revolution because obviously the growth of machinery and of urban slum areas in London and things like that. At this time, the countryside was disappearing and people were moving to the cities, and so people started to become nostalgic for that simple life in the countryside, a bit like people are today, because obviously during the pandemic lots of people moved back to the countryside. So that's why this style of painting became popular, as people idealising pastoral scenes, and I just love it. So I'm going to spend many happy hours just looking at these paintings. Speaking of flowers, my mum got me a bouquet of tulips, or a few bouquets that we've put together, because it's just to welcome me home, and I think it's very beautiful. It just makes me a bit happier to see them when I'm sitting at the table doing my portfolio. So that's my book haul, and I think it was very successful, especially the Keats, because like I said, that's the one I was on the lookout for and I spotted it straight away. So I hope you enjoyed this first vlog back in England. I've got lots of ideas of things to show you, and lots of historic properties and villages that I just can't wait to show you. And yes, I've got a lot of content in mind, so stay tuned for that. And if you enjoyed this video, then please like it and subscribe to my channel to join me on more adventures around the English countryside, and I will see you next time. Bye!